The US government is endorsing Bitcoin from the main stage. And while everyone was at the conference, they just subtly removed the roadblock that will unlock $9 trillion in capital to flow into Bitcoin. Over the next 2 episodes, I'm going to be breaking down the most important news from the conference and everything that you need to know. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. What's up? I'm glad to be back. Before we dive into news about the conference, I want to dive into the biggest news that happened in Bitcoin that no one even noticed. The US government just rescinded a compliance effort implemented during the Biden administration that wouldn't allow fiduciaries or companies or individuals to invest into Bitcoin via 401ks. You know why the S&P 500 goes up all the time? Well, it's because every 2 weeks, people's paychecks are going directly into lifting the prices and the value of all of these stocks. Imagine what happens when that flows into Bitcoin. Something to think about. And this is why Saylor believes that this is the exact playbook to run. Just go to where all of the assets are flowing.
You know, if you haven't figured out how to make money by putting AI into your business, that's hard. Then I give you the easy answer. You just buy the Bitcoin as much as you can buy, because we know where all the money is going to eventually go. The capital is all going to flow in the Bitcoin network, and the more everything else grows, the more Bitcoin is going to grow. So you could just go right there and then wait for the world to enrich you.
All right.
This is why Bitcoin will outperform gold in every other asset. It's engineered to do so. Sorry, Peter.
Bitcoin is going to appreciate faster than every other asset because it is engineered to outperform. It's going to grow faster than the S&P. It's going to appreciate faster than gold. Sorry, Peter. I should say that again. It's going to go faster than gold. Sorry, Peter. It's going to grow faster than real estate or collectibles or anything else you can imagine because it was engineered that way.
Bitcoiners have been saying this for a long time. The fixed supply with unlimited demand flowing into the asset makes it virtually unstoppable. Jack Mallers had this to say 2 years ago, almost to the day, when Bitcoin was at 27K.
Someone will put a 201st floor in Miami's tallest building. If silver's going to 1000x, I will walk into my kitchen right now. I will melt all my silverware and I will sell it at market. If gold is going to rally, Elon Musk will find more on Mars. Bitcoin is, this is a super important point. Bitcoin is the only monetary instrument in the history of our species that is fixed. It does not matter how much more demand comes into the asset class, Kelly, no one will ever be able to make more of it. There are 2 things I can guarantee you in my life. One, that I'll die, and the other, that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And those are what's the 2 things that I can only value as my life and my Bitcoin. So it is the only fixed supply asset, Kelly. It's not that complicated. It's going to go up because everything else can be issued more. Does that make sense?
Why? You've got to explain to me one thing.
But now we've got folks like Brandon Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, waking up to this fact. Wall Street is now understanding Bitcoin's fixed supply is written in code.
The beauty of Bitcoin is the fixed supply. You know, I think people talk about Bitcoin as the digital gold, but if gold 10x tomorrow to be worth 30,000 an ounce, everyone and their mother would pick up a pickaxe and go look for gold, and I would bet we'd find a lot more gold. If Bitcoin 10x tomorrow, 25x tomorrow, 100x tomorrow, there is a fixed supply. It's beautiful, it's scientific, it's written in code, and we know that.
Politicians and investors like Vivek Ramaswamy know this as well.
Bitcoin's not like every other cryptocurrency, most importantly because it has a finite supply that's deterministic and mathematically defined. And right now, we're seeing a trend around the world where the hurdle rate for low-risk investments has historically been U.S. Treasuries, which is a good thing. But there has not been an appropriate hurdle rate for what the risk rate of return ought to be. And in the 21st century, we believe that risk rate of return hurdle is Bitcoin. That's why countless institutions, from companies to soon to include sovereigns and other nations, are using that as the hurdle rate for actually making any other equity or risk investments. That's a trend that's going to continue. You're going to see it not only in the case of companies, But I believe you're going to see it in the case of sovereign actors, even the United States of America.
The world is rotating out of traditional assets. Bitwise had this chart to put up, which showed that the correlation between Bitcoin and the 10-year Treasury futures is at an all-time low, meaning they're not correlated, and people are starting to not look at the 10-year Treasury as a risk-free asset, and they're looking at Bitcoin as the longer-term safe store of value. And James Lavish said it well during a panel. The dollar is no longer the safe haven asset that we all thought it was.
The biggest problem the U.S. has, right, is that we're seeing the whole world wake up to the fact that the U.S. dollar cannot be trusted. That's the biggest issue that we have. And when you then look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is trustless. It doesn't need to be trusted, and that's really what will drive forward in the innovation here eventually over the long run. Is that you have that base asset or currency that you can now trust without worrying about it being debased, it being seized, or it being frozen or locked away from you. So that's really, that's a big deal for the U.S. and embracing that and pushing forward on it quickly is, that's really important in my opinion.
Bitcoin OG Adam Back snuck out of the conference for a bit to do this interview and said that this is why he believes that $100 trillion to $200 trillion worth of assets are going to flow into Bitcoin.
Are they absorbing more money in the space, or are there enough riches for all?
Yeah, it's a question I had talked about with a banker recently, which is how scalable is the treasury company approach? I think ultimately it's extremely scalable. It's the largest arbitrage of the century probably, which is sort of arbitraging the US dollar, euro, the fiat denominated current world with the Bitcoinized future in a few decades. And so if you think about the addressable market of that being in the 100 trillion to 200 trillion.
And when all of these assets flow into Bitcoin, you don't want to be the one selling the real estate. You want to be borrowing against this pristine collateral. And the leaders in allowing you to do that, to unlock liquidity in your Bitcoin without selling your Bitcoin since 2018 has been by far and away Ledn, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. They've issued over $9 billion worth of loans to tens of thousands of customers. The average time to do it is less than 24 hours. And they don't support any other coins other than Bitcoin anymore. They give you multiple options to do it. You can rest assured that your Bitcoin is where they say it is, as they do digital proof of reserves. Loans start at just 12.4%, but for people that go to learn.ledn.io/simply, well, you get 0.25% off your first loan. Don't sell your Bitcoin, just unlock it. And when Bitcoin continues to rise in price and rise in value, knowing how to safely self-custody your Bitcoin and not keep it on exchanges is sort of like an umbrella on a rainy day. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And how you can do that privately, safely, securely, and confidently is by getting a coach. That's why we partner with the Bitcoin Way. Members of their team will walk you through step-by-step of how to do this so that you can make sure that your generational wealth is protected the right way. Go to thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin to get started. When I look at all the stuff coming out from the conference this year, I'm amazed that this clip from Donald Trump happened a year ago.
Hello, Bitcoiners. Thank you very much. Hello. It's good to be with you. This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way. And that's what's going to happen. No, you're going to be very happy with me. You're going to be so happy. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa. And with low energy costs, America will become the world's undisputed Bitcoin mining powerhouse. You'll be a Bitcoin mining powerhouse. You will not have to move your family to China. You will not be moving to China. As we implement these reforms, Bitcoin and crypto will grow our economy, cement American financial dominance, and strengthen our entire country long into the future. Many Americans do not realize that the United States government is among the largest holders of Bitcoin. Does anyone know that? But for too long, our government has violated the cardinal rule that every Bitcoiner knows by heart. Never sell your Bitcoin, right?
And in less than a year, now we have countries saying that they're adding Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. We have companies like GameStop saying that they're buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. We have companies like Tether that are buying all of the Bitcoin that they can. And now we have the Vice President of the United States saying that not only does he hold Bitcoin, he believes that all the Bitcoin critics are wrong.
You're back from Vegas. The crypto speech was a big hit. And I know a lot of smart people love crypto. I know some smart people actually have reservations about it.
Sure.
For our audience, can you just kind of make the case for crypto and people who have, concerns and quite frankly don't even understand it? There are a lot of folks out there. I know a lot of people own it, but
yeah, of course. So look, I'm an owner of Bitcoin here, but I'm also the Vice President of the United States. So I want to be careful, but I think the core value proposition of cryptocurrency is that it's a way of transacting and a way of storing value in a modern digital age. Look, 100 years ago, if you wanted to go and buy something, you put a dollar bill on the table, you put a gold coin on the table. The value proposition of Bitcoin is that it can serve the same function, but in a digital age, a way that's secure, that's safer from fraud, that allows people to buy and sell and store value, but in a way that's consistent with the modern technological age that we live in. Now, having said that, I fully accept there are risks to all of these things. There are always risks to new technologies. Our approach in the Trump administration is to say, let people innovate. Let people figure this stuff out on their own. If the critics of Bitcoin are right, I happen to think that they're wrong. That will eventually win out in the marketplace. If the advocates of Bitcoin are right, and I happen to agree with them, if they make their case, that's eventually going to win out in the marketplace. What you shouldn't have is a dictatorial government that tells certain industries they're not allowed to do what they need to do. You've got to let people make these decisions on their own, and that's sort of been our approach. We want common sense regulatory regimes. We want to allow the cryptocurrency industry to participate in the mainstream of the economy, but then ultimately the laws.
This is a major shift, and the tide is only rising. The amount of capital flowing into Bitcoin is staggering. They're all altering what it means to invest safely. And conferences like the Bitcoin conference that just went down in Las Vegas give me more and more confidence that Bitcoin will continue to be the leader as we move forward in the next 5 years. Can you imagine where Bitcoin will be in the next 15 years? I can, on the moon. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. I'm glad to be back with you guys. Happy stacking.